I've done my share of fitness challenges, and I noticed that the more perfect days I string together, the more stress tends to build. At some point, I shift from being proud of what I've accomplished to being afraid I'm going to break my streak. At face value, checking off a string of perfect days seems like the fastest route to success. At least it did to me in the past. But ironically, aiming for perfection is exactly what caused me to fail so many times on my fitness journey. I'm not implying that goals are bad. In fact, I feel like they're necessary to set direction. But the problem comes in when checking off each box perfectly becomes the goal. I feel like I focus almost exclusively on completing each detail of the challenge perfectly and completing them on each consecutive day of the challenge. Think back to elementary school, the little gold stars you got, and you could line up an entire week of gold stars. That is how I approach these challenges. I want that row of gold stars every challenge I do. But there always comes a point where what starts out as fun and challenging just shifts to feeling more like a second job. And that's when I'm typically throwing the towel. So even with desire, even with effort, direction, the end result is often me giving up. And it's disappointing and kind of embarrassing, to be honest, to not seem to be able to finish a lot of these. Eventually, though, I realized that what I was seeing as a personal flaw in the lack of follow through might not be that at all. It might just be a result of, from the beginning, me setting myself up for failure by tracking the wrong thing from the start. Growing up, I did a lot of different sports. I'd hear people talk about putting in the reps, which just means that if you want to get better, bigger, stronger, faster, you have to practice. My problem, it became very clear, was that I wasn't focused on putting in the reps. I was focused on collecting the gold stars. And again, there's nothing inherently wrong with striving for perfection, and I admire people who hold themselves to highest standards. For me, though, where these challenges were concerned, it's not the fact that I set the bar too high. It's that if I deviated at all from the program, I would throw in the towel. It didn't matter if I had days or even months of accumulated progress. If I made one mistake, I felt like everything was ruined. And if I didn't string together those perfect days, I just gave up. Perfect is not the greatest measure for me. But that brought up the question of what is. If perfect is the wrong measure, what's the right measure? The more I've been thinking about it recently, the more I think it's consistency, which I used to consider synonymous with perfection. But over time, I began to see consistency in a new light, and my definitions evolved on it. To me, now it means more continuing to show up, even after setbacks, after breaks, after mistakes, continuing to bring yourself back to the task at hand. Consistency is putting in the reps. And this is what I'm experimenting with. The measure will be returning until I've completed that journey, not restarting as soon as I make a mistake. Nothing's erased, nothing's ruined, nothing's lost if a slip-up occurs. Simply learning to adapt, and more importantly, to continue.